Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, very, very good question.
Yeah, this is a very good question.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Oh, that's a great question.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Zanger.
It's a great question. It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. A really good question.
Gosh, this question to me, I love hate this question.
That's a loaded question. but okay.
Hi. Yeah, sometimes I ask a loaded question or two. New music today. See if you can hear that. We're going to Miami, everybody. No, I'm kidding. All right. It's Indie Agency News, Indie Work, Doug Zanger. Holy family show. Had a lot going on recently. So we're getting caught up with publishing some new stuff on the site. Also, you might have noticed a newsletter going out every Wednesday. A little roundup. We call it the Indie Spin. We'll have a work roundup. And our members are prioritized. So members get front row seats on all of that. Speaking of work, thank you to everybody who joined us in New York on the Lower East Side, the gritty Lower East Side for our top 40. Good vibes. Really good. It was great. It was really, really great. I'm still like a little tired from it, but like that good tired, that's the thing. It's that good tired. So we were at the Delancey again. Thank you so much to Avid Exchange. We vet all of our partners, so we don't just take money willy-nilly. We want to make sure that our partners are providing genuine value to help indie agency businesses and people. We want them to be part of their growth plan. Avid Exchange has a lot of indie agency news members as customers. We believe that this can be a great product for indie agencies. Therefore, we're glad to have them as partners, and we thank them very much for supporting us for our first top 40. Somebody asked me, said, "You're going to have more awards?" Yes, we will. Be a design one coming up. More information on that soon, as soon as I get through it. But go see the winners. Just scroll on through. Here's your top 40 list, and you can see the brands they work with and also the merit winners, and this is organized by agency. Go through all of them. Let's look at Fjallraven from Cactus in Denver. So what you'll see is you'll be able to see the whole deal right there. So make sure you get on there. I really like that work. And it's not because I have like every sweater of this brand. Yeah, it's really, really solid work. So, and the thing is, you'll click through and like Carson and Doyle, Spotify campaign, and you get all the things. So thank you to Iceberg for the platform as well. Speaking of platform, we are, I guess, we're in our NPR phase right now, where we're strongly encouraging you to join us. I don't have mugs. Actually, I do have. You know what? Fuck it. Hold on one sec. Celie. She's going to one of our guests. Celie and me. Here, hold the fort for a second while I get a hat. Just
do what you need to do, Doug.
Jazz hands it.
I mean, hi everyone. I'm Celie.
And I'm me.
You gotta be prepared. All right, here we go. All right. All right. So when you join, you get an Indie AF hat. We've got some we've got that one, and we've got like 8 colors. So
where mine at?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was going to ask you afterwards which one you wanted.
Sure you were.
You know what? I know we've known each other for a long time, but that kind of hurts. But get your Indie AF hat. This is kind of
cute.
All right. Now, the thing I do want to say is when you build something, those of you who understand it, I talked to Christian at Outerkind about this a lot. And what he went through, especially in the first year, and just building things. And there's so many indies, and especially our members that understand this. You kind of figure out how much shit costs. So in this case, we're coming up to a little more than a year of this thing, and we've been growing it and building it and getting everybody's input, which is really, really important. And we realized that we want to make sure that we have a sustainable business, but we also want to make sure we're reasonably priced. But it's that balance, right? So the rates are going up in 2025. Now, I will say this: whatever rate you join with, you keep that rate for life. If you come in as an agency of 1 and or an agency of 8 or an agent and 480, that's what you stay at in perpetuity. So after the first of the year in 2025, it's just got to go up a little bit. It's just and a big piece of it is the mission. We want to build and grow this mission, so we want to continue to put resources behind it so that we can really help you build this. People ask, what is this? Well, this is a hybrid of a media platform, a visibility platform, a consulting platform, an education platform. But ultimately, the brief on this is to build the global home for independent agencies. The mission is to serve you, the independent agency, and the brilliant people behind them. And our goal is more visibility for indies and more choice for marketers. We want marketers. We've chatted with a few, and they said, "Oh, wow, look at all these agencies I had no idea about." And that's the point. That's the point. Is we want to create this vibrant community that gets stuff done together, and also has an opportunity to work with brands around the world. And again, a reminder: this is global, so rates are going up. Freelancer membership, by the way, we've beefed this up a little bit. For when you are an agency member or a company member, you get to meet an indie agency session. If you're a freelancer, we'll do a 10-minute interview with you. You can add it to your portfolio. So that's $180 a year. And that is for, an annual membership. Anywho, we are here for the task at hand. Hi.
Hi. Get goods like this.
Right.
I mean,
I was NPRing it a little bit. I was maybe too enthusiastic for that.
I don't know. I like it.
They
have a tote bag. You have a hat. It works.
This week when you join on OPB, Oregon Public Broadcasting, today there was a 4.5 earthquake. That's like how excited.
It's kind of scary how good you are at that.
I'm 55 years old, but somebody said if I didn't know you, I would say you're like a 34-year-old stoner. All right.
I don't know, the gravelly voice. You earned that gravelly voice.
Well, no, it's a little more gravelly because I was in New York. All right. So, all right, Zach, you do need a hat, buddy. Look at that. There we go.
Yeah, get a hat.
Okay, so I want to go. Let me go over to your. Give us again the background of the two of you, because you are executives at Instrument, and you have built this genuinely amazing consultancy that digs into some very, very interesting areas that agencies might not necessarily think of, one of which we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth here. So give us the quick thumbnail on NoCo.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Ami, you want to take it or should I?
You do it.
Okay. Ami and I met at Instrument. We were on the executive team together. She led one of the largest teams there that focused on the alphabet companies, Google et al. And then was the VP of business leadership and production there. And she was there from like 10 people until over 300 people. Right. I came in at around 180 people as the VP of creative. And so we worked shoulder to shoulder at different scales of the company, seeing just how do you deliver excellence with different different factors in play at those different scales. And also, how do you replicate success? Like, what is the formula, and what is, beyond formula? And so we just developed a lot of intelligence from that, because the way Instrument is structured, it's basically like a network of boutique agencies.
Right.
It was 5 teams when I came in. It was 10 teams by the time I left. And so you're actually seeing multiple businesses functioning. And it's rare that people in an indie agency environment get to see that, because you're very much within your own context. You're not necessarily working across multiple companies in a short period of time. So you don't get to test that sort of structural thing very often. You are very slowly evolving what you have, where Instrument moved at a pace and, scaled at a pace that gave us a lot of reps that I don't think are that common to see.
Yeah.
So-
and it's like doing the doing, right? Like we
Exactly.
did all of the doing at all of those scales. And so I think that's one of the cruxes of it, is it isn't just the philosophy of it. It isn't just the idea of business. It's the actual mechanics of how do you do all of the pieces at all of the scales.
Yes.
And nobody talks about that part. Celia describes it as a black box. It's just this black box of business.
Right.
And exactly how do you get from this point A to point B? Why would you go there? Right? Maybe you want to go to point C. Can you do that? Is that okay? Right? That underpins our entire thesis of teaching people, unveiling the black box, what's in the black box, teaching people what we know, and basically giving away the secrets of this is how you do what you need to do to get where you want to go.
Yes. And for indie agencies, basically our mission when we started the consultancy was, how do we spare other people from doing everything the long, hard, stupid way, which is how we did it.
Yeah.
No, I know. And what we'll do is for members, we do have a great session about, you gave a little bit of the juice for the members. So out with AORs and with client partnerships, building long-term relationships. I will encourage people, members, to go find this, because what we did is we cut these up for you. So we went across the power of trust, team design, thinking and acting like a strategic partner, not about the upsell. So really, really tangible, very, very interesting stuff. Okay, let's stop screen sharing, because one of the things that I have long said, and I think a lot of people will say the same thing, and a big part of this comes from my personal experience. I know it's not an indie, but Martin Agency, and just how incredible the producers are there. And in conversation between the three of us, we identified that there is a common excitement about the possibility of not just what producers do, but the potential that a producer has for the talent to grow in ways that they wouldn't expect, but also from a macro level, the importance of a producer as it relates to growing an agency, and legit, having them more deeply ensconced, fancy word, in the process.
Yes.
And we're going to get to a survey that you did, and you had a great sample size of this, which is fantastic, because it validates a lot of the hypotheses that we discussed, and it really is exciting. But here's what I want to do. I want to drill back a little bit, and let's talk about defining a producer, because I'm sure that there are plenty of agencies that have a preconceived idea about what a producer is and what they do. So let's start there. Ami, you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because it is not super well understood. People think they have an idea. Really, being a producer means facilitating, shepherding, managing, directing, and guiding a crew of people through creating a body of work. And that really can be at the scale of a single small project all the way to an entire organization. And it's an archetype really that manifests in many different titles and roles across a wide variety of company types, whether it's an indie agency or, a large corporation. Sometimes it's titled project management or account management, even product and program management. Really lives in this world, as well as like new business and sales. But really what's key to it and to being a producer is really that the way I used to describe it in a very crude shorthand way is like, I get shit done and I help others do the same.
Right.
It's like you make sure the work happens based on all the circumstances, conditions, information, etc. You make sure the work is successful. And the producers really operate in what we see as the ideal scenario of a producer is operating in an integrated role that is connecting client partnership to the delivery of the work, the leadership of the team, and a core of business intelligence. So being at the center of a creative and innovative workflow to foster the relationships and honestly really galvanize business success.
Right.
That's our ideal picture of what a producer looks like. But again, it takes a lot of different shapes and forms.
So look, I want to dig in a little bit more because again, you have some assumptions and presumptions about a producer. If I'm owning an agency, an indie, if I'm running an indie in an executive level, what do these leaders need to understand about producers? And we'll get into the data here shortly. But on the top level, Celie, what should they understand? What should they understand about their untapped potential?
Yeah. Right now, we think that a lot of agencies might be kind of leaving untapped potential on the table with producers because it's a little bit of an afterthought, like a sort of, we're creatively led. And so it's really important to get, the right designer in there and, creative director and writer. Yeah, maybe like they understand like, okay, there's strategy, or if it's a more digital thing, like, okay, obviously technology is part of that. And then it's like, oh, I guess we need someone to like calendar that and like keep us on track or, whatever. It's a little bit of this added on, I don't know, middleware, like, oh, we need a little something to connect the dots here.
Right.
That's the sort of misconception where if you really understand what a producer can bring, the way that they connect all those things that Ami was just naming, which is if they are owning a client relationship, if they are part of scoping and of like understanding strategically what the goals of the client and the project are, if they are resourcing and helping to kind of think about like, okay, what's the best mix of people to deliver on that goal? If they are, really core to the way that the business runs, such that everything that happens in the client relationship and in the delivery of that work is being mined for information that helps build the account, that helps understand like what's next for the business and how to move. If they are truly integrated in all of these ways, in the work, in the scoping, in the client relationship, in all of those ways, then really there's a whole different kind of engine and sustainability to what you're doing than if there's failure points and actually everybody's just kind of spinning plates, but there's no one that's coordinating all of that.
So that's a good point, because one thing I did notice is that when a producer, I don't know if this is the right way to frame it, isn't trained well or isn't given the right information, there can be that spinning wheels, looks a little chaotic, and it can be counterintuitive. The stuff might be getting done, but is there a better way to do it? Are you missing opportunities to dig in? but that chaos is really interesting. Let's talk about why you wanted to do a study about producers in the first place. I mean, obviously underserved, it's like when I look at like brand purpose, right? There's data, but not enough around it. So I thought it was really smart and sharp to do this around producers. So what was the genesis of the idea to even do this?
I mean, basically, we had experiences of working in the kinds of environments that we're describing, and we thought that it was kind of a no-brainer. And then we started consulting, and we started seeing lots of things that we had never seen before. Just dysfunctions, things where the role was fractured in some way, or reporting really weirdly, or there's things where we were like, this is not a recipe for success. And we started getting this hunch that, well, maybe actually like there's not an understanding of this. Maybe there's sort of models we don't know about. Like, we started looking for data because we were like, hey, we have some experiences. We have seen certain things, and now we're seeing other things. So, but what is the predominant experience? And there was just actually no data. It's not that there was a little data. There was like no data about the discipline as a whole. There's some data that's more niche, like if you really get down into, okay, digital producers and,
special
things that are like agile production, like these kinds of very specific sub practices, but there actually was no data. And, we know in this industry, numbers really have an impact, understanding the actual baseline, the current state of play for this discipline is a critical first step for us to assess where are things in order to even prescribe insights and actions that can be taken to improve what is happening. So we kind of wanted to start understanding the current lay of the land in terms of like how producers are showing up in workplaces, how they are valued, how they are impactful, literally what are they doing, how is their success measured, like all of these just basic questions that we tend to understand a lot better in areas like design or technology.
Right, because there's a lot going on there. I mean, what did you set out to learn or to know about the producer role, how it fits within a company, especially an indie agency?
Yeah, I mean, like Celie said, we really wanted to establish a baseline. And when you're doing that, you really need to cover some of the basics, right? Even down to who is the producer, where do they come from, right? Where are they oriented? What are their roles? How are they titled? How much money are they making or not making? What do they do? And then getting into the more nuance, like what impact do they have? What do they need? How are they being supported or situated in ways for career development? So we started with pretty basics so that we could, as like a first study of this type, just establish a baseline for the industry and then kind of built a more nuanced understanding from there.
Got it. Okay. Let's talk about the main conclusion. And, I want us to I don't want to go like, I want us to get a little surface, tiny bit of depth, because I do want people to dig into this. Let's talk about let's talk about the main conclusion. What would you say is the biggest main conclusion?
Yeah, honestly, the data validated our experience and perspective, which is that producers need to be at the center of the modern model of creative and innovation service businesses, period, the end. The producer role should be fully integrated, which means, again, it's strategically linking the client partnership models to work delivery, to team leadership and business intelligence. And when they are that hub for all of those things, that wheel is just churning. It's going. And so the data validated that from the experience.
Mm-hmm. We all like validation. Celie, So lots of insights in there. What would you say are one or two that you look at and go, oh, that's interesting?
Some of the things that really stood out are, this discipline is extremely senior. We had
Interesting.
like a 95% confidence interval on the data. So it was like a good amount of statistical relevance to the data reflecting the full discipline, not just like the respondents, but the full discipline. And 75% of producers are experts in the craft and leaders. Okay. 62% have been in the discipline for 8 to 19 years and some more.
Right.
And yet, only, a small number of them have actually been like at their company for a long time, which
it was like,
it's really wild. It was, oh my gosh,
63% have been at their current role 3 years or less.
3 years or less, and 23% are freelance. So when we looked at those two things together, okay, you've got a super senior discipline, people who like really have a lot of skills, have seen a lot of stuff.
They've seen shit.
And have been in the industry long enough to really know like how to make this work successful, how to make these businesses successful. Yet almost a quarter of them are not even in a full-time role. And the vast majority of them have been working in their current employment for, less than 3 years. That just kind of says to you that a lot of value is left on the table. A lot of really seasoned folks. And we have it makes sense that this discipline is very senior, by the way, right? There's actually no junior pipeline for this discipline because there's no educational programs, there's no boot camps, there's no, like when you think about like design programs and like dev boot camps and all of these kinds of like feeders, they don't exist for producers. Producers don't even really have centralized professional development of any sort. They have really niche opportunities to, learn Scrum or like, you know what I mean?
Right. It feels like an apprenticeship in the like that. That's
yes.
what it feels like.
And many of them have had experiences in like a lateral space and then moved into production, which just speaks more to how they're bringing in sort of cross-functional understanding into the role. So you're taking this population that is extremely impactful, senior, been around the block, understands like how things work in this industry, and you're not actually integrating them into the core of your business, right? That to us was a pretty like watershed moment.
Yeah, if they're not being retained, that was the thing. Is that it's like the seniority that signals some, issues or opportunities in the discipline, right? But I think that was the other part was like, and it being so critical to business success, yet these folks extremely experienced are not being retained or not being prioritized as full-time roles. That for us was one of the like record scratch, like, wait, what?
Right.
What are we doing here? What is everyone doing? Why you're sleeping on, you're letting these folks just roam free and shedding them off like it's just no big, they're replaceable. And
you're treating it like a tactical position as opposed to
a strategic one. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just wrote a piece for our blog that was really about from the standpoint of a designer who has worked shoulder to shoulder with producers my whole career. And I've always worked in models where producers were very highly empowered. So unlike some places where it's an afterthought, it was baked into the model. It was very much understood.
Right.
I can't like overstate how the success of the businesses that I've worked in. I was at Fine for 16 years, and that is a really sustainable business. They've been at like 45 people roughly. It's a boutique agency, but they have always consistently had stability, and it's been a very healthy business. And then Instrument, where actually the model was predicated on producers being business leaders of
Mhm.
business units in collaboration with, leaders across all disciplines.
Because the founders were of that mentality.
Well, it's interesting. No, actually, the founders, it was a dev shop, and they were coding,
But in
right?
dev,
And then,
though, it has that patina of like,
yes,
oh
but then
yeah,
and then they brought in a design partner,
right.
and Ami was like basically shortly um, added to the crew thereafter, and she and a couple other folks very early on were empowered to do what they were capable of doing, and then I think that the real intelligence of the founding partners in that business was to recognize when something was successful, double down on it, and invest in it. And really, they had a very good lens on autonomy and the power of autonomy in the hands of people who were able to practice their craft at a level of excellence. Ami, I'm sure you can speak to this more.
Yeah. It was the empowerment, how I was pretty quickly situated as that hub, and really expected to have a voice at the table. So it's not even just like the notion of empowerment. People think it's like, oh, well, I'll give you a title and therefore you are empowered. But that's not empowerment.
No.
And folks can say that, well, we title everyone producers, therefore we're doing it. We're doing the thing. But it's not title alone. And really some of the invisible factors on the ground that actually empowered me was I was expected to have a voice at the table, to speak up about the work, what was working, what wasn't, to bring the client's perspective, to bring the user perspective, to bring a strategic lens onto the work. I was expected to really drive opportunity based on what I knew of the client.
Right.
And people got out of the way. And there were a few times I had to signal, hey, there's this giant roadblock in my way. I'm trying to do this thing. I'm trying to like build this thing, or I see an opportunity here, but this function or the way we're set up now, this is getting in the way.
Yeah.
And it would spark conversation for changes that would then clear the road for me. And so it is the idea of empowerment has to go very deep into the actions of everyone. It doesn't work if, the creative team or the dev team wouldn't listen to me, if they weren't expected to respect my perspective. So it went really deep from, the founders all the way into everyone's behavior.
Right. I figured out what the dog was barking at. We all live in Oregon. This time of year, what animals tend to come out a little closer to the house this time of year?
Raccoons,
Geese.
Deer.
Oh,
all
Yeah,
of the
them
above.
too.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
All of the above. You have raccoons over there.
There
You're
are
on the-
raccoons that will
you're on the
set
east
up
side.
shop like under our deck to. have
Oh, we
their
did have that.
little
Oh, yeah, we
babies.
did have that before. Yeah,
Mhm.
we did have that before.
And our dog used to bark his head off at them.
Yeah, she's going a little. All right. Let's talk about the untapped. We've talked about the untapped potential of this role. And one semantics thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ami said the word hub.
Mm.
There's something to that because producer may have some unintended baggage because of preconceived ideas. So anyway, just throwing that out there. Pin it. Let's get into, again, the untapped potential. Talk about the data that supports, like you're leaving all this on the table, agency leader and agency owner. Talk about the data that supports the fact that an owner or a leader at an indie is leaving way too much on the table.
Yeah. When we got the data that was kind of just sitting on the table, one of the things we did was like cross tabulation, like comparing X against Y to see, well, what factors lead to certain results, right? And when we think about what do in creative and innovation service businesses, what do we care about? We care about client satisfaction. That's a signal of success. And we care about the work being completed and on time, on budget, right? That can signal a lot about business health. And so we started comparing factors to see what would impact those things. What are the things producers can be doing that would maybe lead to the very best results in client satisfaction and work success? And what we found essentially was that the more producers own client relationships, make decisions in the scoping of the work, and contribute to the work, those three factors, the more clients are satisfied and the more projects are successful. Those were our highest metrics of success, were from producers who are owning the client relationship, making decisions in scoping, and contributing to the work. And
Right.
so for us, that again, that word hub, it needs to be really effectually and impactfully integrated into all aspects from beginning to end. And it isn't just a functional schedule meetings, take notes, tell
Right.
people what their tasks that day are. That is like, a thin
Table
veneer of
stakes.
ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to the iceberg of actual impact. And so we found those factors being the most important to the integration of this role.
Yeah, and there were some factors that just were not, like, did not statistically
Mm.
show much impact. But in this case, it was like 84% of producers surveyed who were relationship owners with clients reported extremely satisfied clients, or very satisfied clients, right? 86% of producers who are decision makers in writing scopes reported very or extremely satisfied clients. 77% of producers surveyed who contributed strategically or creatively to the work as decision makers would report that they were almost or mostly ending on time and on budget, right? So it was like very high correlation.
Yeah. So if
these things,
if you think about it, it's like a producer being in charge of the schedule isn't what makes work end on time. That's not your correlation, right? That's just like a functional mechanic along the way. What is going to enable or better ensure that your work is ending on time and on budget is situating the producer such that they are contributing to the work strategically, creatively, as a peer to designers, strategists, developers, whatever the writers, whatever the mix you have based on the work you're delivering.
Right.
They have to be an equal peer who is informing the work. And that is going to lead to better success for the work.
Again, project management being the table stakes thing is pretty obvious to us. And yet, like in the data, it's the number one thing that people will say, this is considered the most important part of my role by my employer. Okay.
Oh, by the so the perception that the employer has, the employer thinks that they're the PM.
Yes. And here's the other funny thing about that. When there's a mismatch between the way that the role is defined and the way that success is measured for that role, you get a lot of sort of lack of clarity and ineffectual dynamics and stuff, right? And project managers are often held to metrics of success that are connected to client satisfaction. Well, if you want me to be scheduling stuff, but you're not empowering me in scoping, you're not giving me ownership over that client relationship, you're not like, all of this is logical, actually. Once you see the data and you think about it, you're like, well, yeah, how can you, I mean, the very definition of like stress and ineffectual role is that you're not giving me power over something, but then you're holding me responsible for failure on something, right? So if you really want client success to be the metric, and it should be, because that's what we're all trying to do, well, deliver excellent work, right? A standard of excellence, and be on time and on budget to kind of run a sustainable business and have satisfied clients. Like these are the things we're trying to achieve. If this is the measure of success, then give somebody autonomy to actually do things that lead to that success.
Right. Right. Yep. No, I get it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go figure out why the dog will not stop barking. I know it's deer related. But this is great. So we will obviously have a link to the report. We will summarize some of the key things here. But this is really, really important stuff, especially if you're an agency owner, if you are a leader at an agency. It may be very much time to rethink how you even perceive and approach the producer role to help you grow your business, because that's ultimately what everybody's in the business to do. And there's some struggles out there. Not going to sit here and lie, but there could be a secret weapon that's sitting right here.
Yeah. And
So.
it's not just enough to call them producers and
No.
think you're done with the job.
And
Yep.
we can help you if you're like, we don't exactly know how to do this. Like, this is exactly what we can help people
Yep.
do.
Yeah, we'll get a link so that they can get in touch with you. I mean,
Great.
Healy, thank you so much. I'm gonna put you
Yeah.
backstage for a minute. Awesome stuff.
Thank you, Doug.
yeah.
Thanks for having us.
You got it. All right. And the sample size is strong, really good. It's excellent research. So this is the baseline now, the gold standard of how we're looking at this role. So a reminder, take a look at our top 40 winners. Just go to indieagency.news. There's a banner there. And just scroll down. Again, thank you to Avid Exchange for supporting our top 40. This is like a little candy store. This is like a creative candy store. The other thing too is you can knock around. So sorry, as I go back here, we'll go to Preacher, Wealth Simple. So you'll see right here, there's Martin Short. It was very, very funny. So all the information that you need, we did have a nice little conversation with all of our winners. So we put all those videos in. But again, you can go to full campaign details there, and that gives you all the credits. We didn't want to copy and paste credits. We didn't want to make it scrolly for you. I've worked at companies that do that. Look at my LinkedIn profile. You figure it out. All right. Listen, on behalf of everybody at Indie Agency News, I'm Doug Zanger. Thank you so much for your support of this mission. See you next time.